Marc, thanks for joining me. We're here on Homegrown Hustle here, our second episode. Appreciate you taking the time coming out. Really excited to learn about you. I've had the pleasure of meeting you a couple times and heard a lot about you, other people in the community. But really just want to learn about why you stay here in Forest Lake after so many years. You're a self-proclaimed county, which is a very strong noun to own, I guess. So why don't you take us back to kind of the beginning, like high school? Like, how did you get to where you're at right now?
Met my wife in high school, American history class. We were high school sweethearts, got married. I think we're going to have our 30th year coming up. She would be able to tell you the math more than I could, but married in 1990, my wife Jill, and we have 3 great kids, all college age now. But from there, Jill went to college. I went to a 2-year school. Went to a school for radio broadcasting. She went for LEd. I couldn't make any money in broadcasting, so I worked up at Hallberg Marine for 15 years selling boats. Great family, they've always been good to me. And left after that to go pursue a career in logistics after the bottom dropped out of the market in 2008. As you know, I always joke the people that had money didn't have any money anymore to buy boats and stuff. So a friend of mine got me a gig at a freight broker in Ramsey, Minnesota. I went to the middle of the food chain there. We were bought out through a couple of different mergers and then ended up being owned by UPS, middle management, sales manager downtown Minneapolis, which was fun. It was an exciting time, but middle management don't have a full college degree, so I couldn't move up in that corporate world. And there was a lot of what I joke is brown tape because you owned by UPS, HR issues and challenges. Everything had to be filled out in triplicate and, the people in place that are actually running it for you, if that makes sense.
So you said the fact that it's painting's irrelevant.
Yeah.
I can connect with that on a few different levels. So tell me a little bit more about what you mean when you say that.
Well, if you want to be a business owner, when we were first pitched this, the franchise broker that we said is like, well, what if you own a porta potty business? What's the difference of that? And it really, if you're not necessarily the one cleaning out porta potties, at the end of the day, it's the fact that you own a business. And as long as you're making the right choices and taking care of your customer in the long run, taking care of your community, whatever is irrelevant. That answers your question.
No, it 100% does, and it's very much in line with kind of how we do things. I mean, that transaction, that's part of it, right? There's so much more around running a business and owning a business than just the deal.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to kind of that transition where you were going from sales. It sounds like that's where your career salesman.
Yeah.
So in my experience, high energy, real confident type of profile. So going into business, I could see that desire to want to do it. But the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of people want to do it, but there's not a lot of people that do it like you did, right? So, what were some of those things that you had to process and really think through before reaching out to that consultant that you what was there a trigger or what were you?
It's a really good question. It was majority of it was finances. We wanted to make sure that before we did this, everything was taken care of financially. We at the time we refinanced our house. We got a HELOC on top of that to make sure that we had additional sources if we needed it. Saved up a bunch of money to have cushion for the income that we need for the time being. So we kind of battened down the hatches financially before we made this decision. I ended up buying the franchise through a program that the government has called ROBS, which you roll over your 401k and you can buy it if buy shares of your own corporation. So, but there's certain hoops and certainly anything you do with the government, it's not like very easy. Yeah. So, but that's the way we did it. So we didn't take out a loan, so it's against my 401k from a previous employer. But that was the financing side of things and how to do it. The process of getting that, I've always had that itch. I've always wanted to do my own thing, to have the freedom time-wise.
So your back was almost against the wall, right?
It was very aggravating,
You had to sink or swim.
Yeah.
That's...
But it just, honestly, man, it kind of galvanized what that choice was. And yeah, it was, I was just gleefully terrified.
Were there any points where you like were thinking like, oh man, did I make the right decision?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that winter, I was going to go like stop overnight at Target, you know, in like Lexington or somewhere no one would see me, you know, because there was some embarrassment, you know, it's like, oh my gosh. But then April came around, spring came around, and when it comes to COVID, people aren't traveling. They're not going to Florida. They're not going to see Kenny Chesney at Target Field, you know, that summer. So they've got all this discretional income. And what are they doing? They're staring at their walls and they're tired of it.
So that actually worked out.
Well, for our entire system, it was actually a boom. Actually, for the entire industry, it was a boom.
Similar for our industry, I think for home services in general. So
now, if you would have told me in April, where you know I got the rope hanging from the rafters in the laundry room, you know, joking of course, but to that May and June where you know we can't keep up, then that's.
And you started. When did you?
We launched in March.
So you launched.
And we came out of the gate really strong. Actually, our very first month, we were only like $700 or $800 away from being profitable. Our very first month, which was very exciting to me. And I was probably doing my math wrong, but it was very exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, Joe, we're only like $800 away from, you know, being in the black here. And then the whole system shut down. You know, 1-800 got junk, and WOW and chat, all of our franchise systems shut down. The decision was made from people smarter than me. But then just like, well, let's April and like let's go again. It turned out to be good.
Started back up.
Yeah.
And started selling.
Yeah.
Right. It's like at that point.
Had to.
Yeah. Well, in business, nothing happens until somebody sells something, right? So you've got all these processes, everything's dialed in, and now you just have to go and implement them, right?
Sure.
It sounds super easy. Yeah. That's the goal of
and
franchise.
I have to give a lot of credit to some of our good friends and acquaintances that knew we were doing this, and quite frankly knew that we were struggling a little bit, that reached out and says, hey, why don't you come do this? You know, yeah, it was great. Well, relatives and stuff were really great about that.
Powerful, because like if you get the people that are trying to get a deal on something all the time, especially when you're just starting up, that becomes really hard because you want to take care of those people. Those people are important to you, but you also have to run a business.
My Aunt Val and my Uncle Doug, they had me come over and paint their house. And Val, just last year, we were in their slow season. I says, what else need painted? You guys help me out. I'm just going to come over and paint your laundry room or paint this or something, awesome. You know, to say thank you for sticking your neck out for me. So, yeah.
That's awesome that you circle back around. And,
you have to.
Yeah. I mean, it's like an ecosystem of business, right? The different communities that we're in.
Yeah.
So April, May, June, that whole transition, your day-to-day changes, right? So what things did you learn in those first 90 days when you went from not being a business owner, kind of career professional salesman, right? And now all of a sudden you're everything. You're all the hats.
Yeah.
Like, what did you have to learn, maybe the hard way, so that you can kind of share some of that experience you have with anybody that might be thinking?
Well, you learn real quick what you're good at, a people person, people pleaser, and then you learn real quick what you're not good at. Not real good at the operational side of things, the scheduling side of things. I hate that part of it. To this day, it's like, not, you know, you have to do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. Scheduling, ordering, I don't mind calling and contacting customers, but, you know, the operation, dispatching teams, that's something that I'd rather just take care of the customer. And so you learn real quick what you're good at and what you're not good at. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, so then how did you handle what you're not good at part of it?
Well, you still got to handle it. As you said, if you don't have a bookkeeper, you're the bookkeeper. If you don't have a marketing person, you're the marketing person, you know, so all those things that you still have to tag. And
so you have to learn all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like pretty much thrown to the wolves. Like,
yeah. And then another thing you need to figure out too is you need to figure out like what is a work thing and what is a personal thing. Like you can't, you have
that
to,
line.
Yeah.
Like where is it?
So there's times where early on where you're typing at 10:30 at night, answering emails and stuff, and you got paint on your hands, you know, and you're just trying to figure out all the business side of things while you just work a full day, you know. And I'm 52 years old, and like, you think I want to paint? No, I don't want to paint.
So, you know? But like for me, I can never really speak from experiencing the other side. Like I pretty much went into
business right away after college, but you kind of saw the other side, right? Like, how different is that to have everything on you all the time and maybe work more than 40 hours a lot of weeks, right?
Yeah.
But it's more rewarding, wouldn't you say? Where like I'd rather put more hours in for myself because I get to see this thing grow than 40 hours for somebody else checking in, checking out, just doing my time.
There was a lot of that early on where you like 80 to 100-hour weeks, and it's hard to put it down. And you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and your brain starts going, and then you can't go back to sleep, and you end up going downstairs and may as well get up. But I think we've gotten to the point now where I have a lot more confidence and trust in my team. Not that I didn't before, but now I have even more so. And there's nothing more rewarding than getting a phone call from one of our leads just yesterday. Hey, we're all done with this. They got done early. Of course, we got a bonus program where they can, if they get done early and it's a quality job, they get some extra cash. So they're excited about that. But things like, yeah, we gave them a review card. They're going to leave us review. So you have the buy-in from your team, and you have the buy-in from the people that you work on what you're trying to put out there as a business. And from where we started and where we are now, it's almost like a night and day, because we've learned some of those mistakes. I think early on, some of the HR, I'm going to call them challenges that you might have had with people where you should have probably cut the rope on them a little bit sooner than you did, and now you can sniff that out a little bit sooner. And the quality people versus the ones that, this person's just not working out. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. So through that process, like you're learning, probably still are learning. I am every single day in business. And also like constant evolution, like your day-to-day changed at that transition when you become a business owner, but also you've been the business owner for 4 years, and even within that period, your day-to-day has changed, right? Could you tell us a little bit about
I'd like to go actually have a conversation with my 2019 self.
What would you?
Because there is and some of the things you don't even know what you've learned, like when it comes to taxes and payroll and let's say what you can get away with and what you can write off, what you can't write off. And, some of those things that like we're just now getting in. We started another company to lease our cars back to ourselves. And some of those things that a lot of people don't necessarily know or even researched. And, the journey has been really fun to figure that out. And, as you know, in a business, every time you turn around, somebody wants another $1,000 from you for something, whether it's insurance or fuel or, your credit card payment or whatever, you just turn around and
gotta get used to spending more money if you're going to run a business.
And what's interesting in that too is like the marketing side of things. You guys do a great job with it. I know with your business, but you have to spend that amount of money to, and I think with small business, especially people just starting out, that's one thing that people don't really understand, and the reward that comes from effective and poignant marketing. And that's one thing with the franchise system. Again, they know what works. Then they guide you in this direction, but someone who might not be in a franchise system, that might be a little more difficult for them. Like Google and whatnot, like our franchise system takes care of all of that for us, which like if I even started today, I would have no clue how to do that. But they take care of all that for us and line it all up. And, so.
It's part of the beauty of the franchise.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of those minutia things.
Yep.
In reality, you don't have to know those as a business.
Someone else does.
Somebody else does. And that's such a powerful thing.
And that's what I pay you for. Yeah. So, but my point is like someone who might be starting out in whatever business it is might not have those same advantages or like, especially when it comes to like the marketing spend, the understanding that, in your first year, you probably have to spend almost 15-20% of your revenue back into marketing if you want to make it work.
Well, now there's money. Money before you're a business owner is one thing. And now you have to detach money you're in control of in a certain setting. This is business money. It's still money, but it's not, it can't be spent the same way. But that emotional attachment almost, I don't know if that's the right word, like it's kind of there. So being able to look at it as that investment in an ideal outcome
Yeah.
is really the goal, because we're putting this in with the idea that it's going to pay out more. That's what an investment is. So did you ever struggle with that? Like
early on I did, but they coach you through that.
Yeah.
But I could see, to your point, like it's like raising chickens. You know, you got to start with an egg, and then you got to feed them, and then you got to nurture them, you got to water them. So until that beast comes up to where you can get the harvest out of whatever you're growing. It's the same thing with a cornfield or whatever. You know, so that paradigm shift within someone to, like you said, separate from a personal. This is my personal finances, but I got this pit bull of a business that is always hungry and is always barking at me, and and understanding that sometimes, you got to feed the beast in order to. Sometimes you don't get to take a paycheck. Sometimes you, goodness, we didn't pay ourselves for the first 9 months we're in business. So
did you know that was going to happen in the franchise?
Yeah.
Did they talk about that part of it too? Okay.
Yep. We knew that, and so that was terrifying, and having conversations with new potential franchisees, trying to lay that out very, very bluntly that, you're going to embrace the suck.
So there's something to say about that in business. Like you have to really get used to just going through hard things, right? And not knowing things. So within franchising, like there's a different type of thought process, right? Is there some type of network that you have, or other franchise owners that you've connected with?
Well, I can't speak to other franchises, like a Domino's or whatever.
But within WOW1DAY.
Oh yeah, we're like a family. We have our own chat room. I was just bouncing back chats before I came here. Friday gets a little jovial, and we all talk a little bit. We have our big conference coming up in February, and it was just announced. So everyone's going back and forth on this chat group. But part of that, like if you get a newer person like Clayton in Lexington, Kentucky, who's like, how do I do this? And this, I've never seen this before. And you have 5 or 6 different franchise partners that'll pipe in and say, well,
it's directly applicable to
correct.
The same exact brand, same business. The only difference is the operator and the market that it's in.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And that's really powerful.
It is. Yeah. Yep.
So were you tapping into that right from the beginning?
Yeah. Everybody's great.
Okay.
And it's a whole bell curve, of course. You have your 20% that's super hyper into it. You have your 60% that, it's like, I know about that. I'll answer that. And then you have your other 20% that, want to be kept at an arm's length. So I suppose that's a natural flow of things, but I'm very impressed with what they have to offer and what I'm paying as far as royalties, what I'm getting as an ROI, what I'm paying out to that.
So if you were to give advice to somebody who's maybe in that point where you were kind of describing, you're looking at, I think, your uncle's business from afar and seeing that franchise and thinking you could do it, like what type of advice or things to think about would you give somebody who's kind of going through that now that you've gone through that process?
Probably make yourself a pro and con list. Of course, it sounds corny, but listen to some podcasts of maybe some other people that have, such as this one, or there's a ton of them out there. There's a ton of them out there. Which through my journey, I listened to a lot of that where I didn't really know once I decided that I'm leaving this job and I'm going to go do something and I don't know what it is, I listened to a lot of those. But soul searching, what are you trying to get? What are you trying to achieve? A lot of people go into business just thinking like, I can do it better than so-and-so, and then they fall flat on their face because they don't really do it. But I have multiple friends, like I said, I was in the logistics business, that started their own firm, and they're doing quite well, and I'm very, very happy for them. And then, when it comes to franchising, though, do your research, make sure it's a good fit for you, and be objective about it. Be objective about the business that you're going into, whether, it could be a carpet cleaning business, maybe you're managing Airbnbs, who knows? There's a lot of different things that are out there. And,
But you really have to reimagine and then reinvent yourself in whatever direction it is, starting with that end in mind, the goal, independence, more money, whatever that goal is. And then you can make decisions around, does this decision get me closer to or farther from that goal, right? And there's going to be things that you don't know, somebody doesn't know. But at some point you have to trust yourself and your ability, right? Is that kind of the X factor?
Yeah, I think the majority of people, including myself, have a difficulty in stepping beside yourself and looking at yourself critically and objectively of what you really want to get. And so I would think that a lot of people go into something like this and do a business venture or whatever, because maybe it's any number of business. Maybe they have family issues. Maybe they have substance issues. Maybe they have, maybe their marriage isn't going to go right. Like some people have a kid thinking it's going to fix their marriage. And, just make sure that you step out and look at things objectively and truly what do you want to be when you grow up? And you know what I mean? Why?
Even if you're 45 or
Yeah.
whatever it is, like,
Yep.
that's.
And what do you want to do? Do you want to help people? Do you want to be at home services? Do you want, what type of business do you think that you want to own? What do you want to do in the community? Or maybe people don't want anything. Maybe they just want to make money and buy a second house in Florida. Who knows? Everybody's got their own why, but just find out what that why is and be objective and not critical, but honest with yourself.
That's awesome. Awesome advice. Very difficult to do because it takes critical thinking and time too, right? So you had mentioned kind of after you made that decision to test the water with both feet, you just started absorbing different pieces of learning material, podcasts, reading books. What other type of ways were you trying to learn the things that you didn't even know you didn't know?
Well, once we decided, are you talking about before or after I made the...
In general, like whatever that, like I need to start learning and finding ways to be better so that I can have success in this area. You said podcasts.
Yeah, I mean that for in the dreaming stage, you listen to a litany of different people on these podcasts that were like, one was a liberty tax or whatever, like just finding out what their journey was. Quite frankly, some of them were other painting companies that we hadn't even looked at that were franchised out. It was just interesting to me similar to what we're doing now, listen to people's journey on what that looks like and what their life is like now, some of the challenges that they've gone through.
Because then you can almost compare yourself to somebody and like try to see the reality of how achievable it could really be, right? That little
Can I do that? I think I could do that,
And then what's missing between that and actually doing that? The thing that you found and actually made that decision that so many other people fear and don't do because
No, I think that's the answer is fear. The fear of failure, the fear of not only letting yourself down, but letting your loved ones down as a result of making a drastic and life-changing decision. And I think that's
fear and then happiness of what you're currently doing and the outcome of.
It sounds cliche, but I always say you have to live for a while like most people won't to have the life that most people don't. And you have to build a foundation which is actually the name of our corporation, is Foundation Painting Corp. I'm doing business, but you have to build a foundation of that before you can enjoy the rewards. Yeah, and it sucks right when it starts. It's hard. It's really hard. But once you get through there and you crawl out of the trench and you're pouring cement on your foundation, once that cement hardens, just this week, this month, 60% of our projects that we're doing are referrals and past customers in November. And I don't have to market for that. I've already laid the groundwork and I've already done the foundation, and our customers love us, and you can't fake that. Yeah.
You can't.
No.
I think there's companies that try, but it's sniffed out pretty quickly because that authenticity in people's work is really what's important.
I found the cornerstone of the business, regardless of what the business is, and just sales in general, Matt, is just being genuine, being sincere, empathetic, listening to what people actually want, whether it's your employees or your customers or your suppliers, whatever it is, in your community. Just being genuine and sincere and real, that's a big part of it as well.
I would agree wholeheartedly with that. So let's go to the community part.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I know you're super active in the chamber and in the Forest Lake community and surrounding areas. Tell me what it was like becoming active as a business in Forest Lake. Like, were you already well known because you're a townie, or was there some type of additional development that you had to do there to?
There was certainly additional development, and when we say that, Jill and I are townies. We grew up here, and there's several different bars and restaurants where the bartender knows you by your first name,
Nice.
and they know what you're drinking. So we established that, but it did take, quite frankly, us becoming business owners in town before that really hit home. That I need to be doing more for my hometown.
Yeah,
because it's a great place.
it is.
Yeah. So wanting a business in town compared to where we were before that, it was just more blasé and more. But now we are really making a concerted effort to make a difference in town. So,
but, why is that important for businesses to do?
Nobody else will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think people can tell the businesses that actually care about who they're serving and the ones that are just looking for?
I'd like to think they do. Yeah. When if you're genuine and sincere and intentional about what you're doing, you can't necessarily fake that. Anybody can throw a pile of money at something and oh yeah, XYZ company, sponsors of this, which is great. I'm not going to discredit that, but we find more joy in the small but more meaningful things. We do really simple things for just online. Even the chamber event last night was an auction where you're just giving them a painter for a day. It's a win-win really for everybody, But St. Peter's Church in town do the same thing. I was actually just adding to my list of all these charity things I got to do on an Excel spreadsheet so I can keep them all straight. But there's never really been an instance where some charity or some group has reached out to us and say, "Hey, can you help us out?" Why I haven't,
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Because if I help that place raise $200-$300, $500, $600, whatever it is, that's more than they had yesterday.
And you're supporting somebody else in the community.
Well, let's be honest too. You get some street cred as a result of it as well. We use it for social. We put it on the Facegrams and the Instabooks.
We almost are obligated to do that as a business, though, because we have the fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the business. We can't just do stupid stuff with money.
Yeah,
you can get in trouble that way. So, there's an obligation to do that, but just from our conversation here, I can tell that that's not the reason why you do it. You'd probably do it even if you didn't get the ROI from that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it feels good. It's actual.
For what it costs us to do as a business owner, I got labor and a gallon of paint and some supplies and to see a smile. Because there's nothing I'm even just looking around this room and I'm like, this place needs to be painted. But when you think of things like that and what just a paint job does on the inside of just a bedroom or a bathroom, it just brightens up the whole space with a fresh coat of paint. And to see smiles on people's faces, even with our customers when it's done, it's very rewarding and really fun.
Well, they get to bring that feeling in. Something that causes that feeling. At least. And seeing other people experience happiness and joy with something that they either couldn't or didn't want to do, and you're responsible for bringing that. That does a lot for somebody, and that's why so many people like working in those trades where you get to actually put time and effort in and see the result.
And ours is probably the easiest because we're in after everybody else, and we just shine it up a little bit after they've done all their hard work, which is great, but we're the last ones in, and then we really make it shine.
So now let's talk really about your business, right? And maybe if you could describe who your ideal customer is.
Sure.
We'll start with that, and then I'll ask a couple of questions about that.
So as a franchise, they've done a lot of research in that, and we are what you might say is a higher end painting company. So our target customer, we've named her Jen. Jen.
Two N's or one?
Just one N. And it's an acronym for juggling everyone's needs. So we know exactly how old Jen, and Jen is between 38 and 60. She has a husband or a partner of, and the 2.5 kids. Got a kid in hockey. She is a half-hour cook. She's the one that is making sure that everybody's taken care of at home. She's online first. She likes Starbucks. She likes Babs. She likes, Dunky. She wants to have those brands be a focus of who she is. basic, if you will. She knows exactly who she is. She wants to be well respected in the community. And yeah, she knows who she is. She's upper income. She lives in a nice home. She wants her home to look nice. She has a certain style that she wants. And that's who our customer is, Jen.
I'm so impressed with how many facts about your customer that you just rattled off. There's so many business owners that you can run into and ask that question to, and they don't even really, they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
How powerful is it to know that much about the person that you're looking to do business with? Like, what does that knowledge do for you as a business owner?
Well, it helps with marketing for sure, because we know exactly who we're going after. And because Jen is a little bit more affluent, she has the money to pay for our services, because we're not necessarily the cheapest painter that's out there. Mm-hmm. But we want to deliver on our promise of not only get, one of our franchise partners, John in Kalamazoo, always jokes that we're an experience company that just happens to paint your house for you. We want Jen swinging a glass of Chardonnay around at book club, bragging about the paint job that she just had done, bragging up and down the neighborhood. And we want her neighbors, when they're walking their Labradoodle down the road, going, "Who's this? And what are they doing?" And we want her saying, "Oh yeah, they were great. I can't believe it." So what was the question?
I have no idea.
Yeah. But to know who your customer is, it makes it a lot. Yeah, and there's commercial work and there's other things, but that's who we strive after. And quite honestly, with that comes in a larger average job size, which means a larger profit margin, which and more hours for the team, and
so for your business product or service you sell, as the size of the job goes up, the margin also goes up.
It's not necessarily, no, but just as a result of larger.
There's more cash.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. More revenue involved.
King as a business owner.
Yep.
Write that down, everybody.
Yeah. Know your numbers.
All right. Yeah. And try to start learning them if you don't.
Yeah.
Because data driving decisions in business is super important. And with the structures that you have within WOW1DAY painting, they kind of give you some of those tools, right?
Yeah.
How long do you think it would have taken you to figure that out? Would you have figured that stuff out by now if it were not a franchise?
No, I think I would have. It's very comforting to know where you position yourself in the marketplace. I just had a conversation with a customer last week. We were the most expensive bid that he received. We got the project, but it's your value prop. It's your why are you more expensive? And it's a thing to my insurance is probably more. I have more overhead than Joe Lunchpail does. Nothing against Joe. He's probably a great guy, but he's the one that is doing the bid. He's the one that's doing the painting, and our model is just a little different. Mm-hmm. So trying to explain that to a customer of why we're, and what we're going to do differently. I'm going to have 4 guys on site. We're going to show up at 8 a.m. and we'll probably be done by 3 p.m. And you're going to have
no matter the size of the job, all of it?
Within reason. Okay. Within reason. It's all broken down by hours. How many hours are in a particular job, and that just means how many painters you need to put on it,
Okay. So it's math. Back to numbers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. So Jen, she's the focus. That's where you're putting as much effort as you can, right? Because the juice is worth the squeeze on that. As a business owner, I know that I sometimes have too many irons in the fire, and some of it is because it's something new that comes up, and I'm excited to learn about it, but it actually kind of distracts me from the thing that is the meat and potatoes of my business. Do you spend any time entertaining other customer segments? And if so, how does that compare to working within who your ideal customer is?
Well, we're going to take whatever we can get. So a lead is a lead is a lead is a lead, right? So where we're not on your lead size like Thumbtack or Ambi or anything like that. We find that those are more of a race to the bottom, and that's not where we want to be. I know full well that I'm probably going to be the most expensive bid that you are going to get, but I'm worth it, is what I always say. I'm using higher quality product. Mm-hmm. My guys are wicked good at what they do, and we'll be done the same day. And, our goal is to have them leave that 5-star review after we leave. So, am I chasing other customers? Absolutely. Yeah, I'll do anything. if a realtor just wants me to go out and do hey, we're at this closing, they're saying now that they want the deck stained, and I'm not going to be able to get to it, but I can certainly get you a bid on it and say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. And if they want to get it done, that's fine. So I know my place when it comes to say like realtors and other trade partners too, where if I'm a resource to them, eventually that work will come as well. You know what I mean? If I make them look good to their clients as a result of that, that's just, again, building that foundation and making sure you're building a level of trust within to make sure that when that opportunity does come, it comes to me. The things that we're not successful in is like flips. We're not successful in, say, like new construction. That's because of our model as a franchise, I'm typically a little bit more expensive as a result of that. So like if I were to go to a construction company who wants me to paint the inside of a home, I'm not as competitive as going directly to another.
The model is different.
The model is different.
The model is totally different, and there's pros and cons to that.
But I hope that answers your question. Like, we know full well where we sit in the marketplace and who's a good customer for us, and really where our strength suits are not. Yesterday I had a gal that wanted me to paint 6 dining room chairs, and I just politely answered back like, I'm not sure if I'm the guy for this. It's not. I don't think that's something I want to pursue. I wish you the best in your project, but I don't think that's something that we can handle. So.
And that's hard to do sometimes early on in business. I know I should have said no to some things early on. I had to learn the hard way, right? Is that kind of part of what WOW1DAY delivers to you, like the understanding that, hey, stuff like this, it's not gonna give you the outcome you want? Or is it really like they get you the leads, and if you take it and sell it, that's
well, like the chair thing really wasn't in our model. We're more walls, ceilings, that type of thing, trim, but I probably could have taken that if I was just starting out, but I know my team's strengths. I know what they're good at. I know what not that they're not necessarily good at that. I also know what they want to paint, what they don't want to paint. And that just seemed like something that my guys wouldn't necessarily want to chase and do. And so,
So let's talk about your team a little bit. So when you started the business, what did the team consist of? And then how has that kind of evolved over time to where you're at now?
That's a great question. When we first started out, I had 2 painters with me, and we were talking about COVID a little bit. And we were actually painting an auto shop in Lino on a Sunday, and we got the call from corporate that we're shutting down. And I had one guy that was there actually just getting his car and drive away like that day. Like, we're shutting on. I'm like, whoa, did you just leave? It's the first. But the other guy, Nick, stuck with me, and we finished out the place. And
is he still with you?
No, he was up till last summer. He was, and now he's trying to do his own painting gig. And great guy, still great relationship. I always tell everybody that leaves with me, don't burn a bridge. Because you never know when we're going to cross paths. Or I saw him at the Legion at the 3rd of July. We had a great conversation, but never burn a bridge. But he was a salesperson for us for a while, and then he wanted to go do his own thing. And I'm never going to do discredit for anybody go out and do their own thing. And so,
I mean, you did it.
Yeah, good on you. And I can't speak to where he's at now, but still,
for sure,
decent relationship. We're not, calling each other.
So you had Nick, he was your one guy, right? And then, like, where are you now?
Well, another fun part of that is as we moved, my team lead now, Eric, he was working for another company. I'm just going to say in town, and it was just being whipped and just belittled and like rode hard and put away wet, and my Sherwood rep in town here, because I relayed to them that I'm looking for a job lead and I'm looking for a guy that, and he goes, well, you should talk to Eric. And so I took him out to breakfast on a Sunday, and man, his whole demeanor was just like, I just felt really bad for him. So I just started building the guy up. I go, dude, you can start on Monday. I'll pay X amount, and you can take my van home at night. And he's been with me ever since, and he's just an absolute gem. I like to think that he really enjoys working for us. I enjoy that he takes care of our customers, and he's got a buddy of his, Sam, that works for him. And then right now we're just 3 guys because we're in our full feed. Austin had left us, and then he's back with us now too. He's another one of the leads, and he's an estimator for us as well when we have rollover. So I mean, there's just the 3 of us now, but in season we have like 6 guys with college kids and whatnot that come in for our busy season, and then we offset with some contractors when we feel the need to, throughout town. But we try to keep everything in-house and our own
So you
people.
can control it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and
You know the
you can
product.
control the quality a little bit better. Not that the subcontractors have subpar quality, but like the arrival and departure times, and some little nuances that you can do with your own.
Parts of the experience,
Yeah.
that are really why your customer loves you.
Correct.
So that stuff.
Yeah.
It's more than just the numbers. It's like
Yeah.
it's important to what you're doing overall.
Yeah.
So you're juggling a growing business, which is difficult. I can speak from experience. But yet you keep going, right? It's hard, right? Running a business is hard. You're a unicorn. People don't like. There's a lot of people that want to run a business. You're running it, right?
Yeah.
And like, I have no idea where I was going with that. I threw myself off with unicorn. Remind me what I was just saying. What was I saying before unicorn?
I don't know. Where are you going with like what some of the challenges are?
No, I was gonna say like, where are you gonna go? Like,
Oh.
where do you see yourself in the next like 2 to 5 years? With WOW.
I talked with my field advisor because they just assigned me like a coach through the franchise. My next thing that I have to do is I have to delegate better. I have to find an operations person. Probably gonna steal Danielle from you. No, I'm joking. I need to find my own Danielle. That
I will pick you out.
No, I need to find that because I need to work more on my business, do more of the chamber events, go out and sell more, build that side of it, and then I have someone else operate it and run it more efficiently than I can. Because I just noticed that in just late summer that I was just at capacity.
Stress.
Yeah, and
Stressful.
I need someone to help me with that. But my biggest challenge with that, Matt, is like everything is up here. Like I know that customer wants that wall to be agreeable gray and that wall to be alabaster.
So it's letting somebody else be.
Those are just things because I'm and honestly putting it on paper where now it's just all in my head and put it. My wife Jill, God bless her, I love her to death. She tried, and for the sake of our marriage, we thought it was best if maybe I'll just do the bookkeeping and that side of things, and we'll hire someone else to do that. So we had a great conversation about that in the spring of this last year. So,
I mean, that sounds like business impacting like personal on a whole different level, right? But yet you go through it, and it sounds like you have a great relationship with your wife to be able to.
I like to think I do, yeah.
To make that transition, like that's not easy. On a relationship at any stage, especially if you have some sort of normal you're used to.
Well, we also didn't want it to be the only thing that we talked about over the dinner table or on the deck at night. We wanted to have our own space and our own things to like bring home. So
and it's my wife and I are the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's healthy to have that line that we talked about early on at the beginning. It gets blurred a lot of times because 80 to 100 hours a week, that's consuming a lot of your time. And how is it possible to talk about anything else when you're putting that much time into it? You almost have to. And your partner, your spouse going through that, like that's arguably more difficult than really doing it yourself.
So when like it comes to like finger pointing and like, did you do this? Did you do that? And then it becomes more nagging and more, and then we didn't want that. Same instance of like you have a 20-year-old son, and he and I have come to the agreement that it's probably not best if we work together just yet, because I don't want that to be a point of contention between us. Not to say that maybe somewhere down the road he might not get involved, but we don't want that. Our relationship is great, and I want to keep it great.
That stuff's more important.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with my siblings. I have 2 of my brothers that work with me, and that like before either of them started with me, like we had like serious conversations about that because like working with family, it's really convenient.
Yeah.
Like, in your head, you can solve these problems, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Like when you're in it, it's hard, and you don't know the stuff that's going to come up because when you're thinking about it, it's like all rainbows and unicorns. And you're going to be happy.
We're going to have the best
we got to talk about.
We're going to make s'mores. Yeah.
So, I mean, kudos to you for being able to take a step back from your business and make those decisions about like what's really important. That's why you got into the business anyway. It's because you wanted to be happier as a family and as a couple, right? So I think that's awesome. So to the community, I'm still kind of learning Forest Lake as a community and the stuff that goes on in the surrounding area. Like in particular, like events or things that come up every year that people kind of look for?
Sure.
You're a townie, so I hope you know some of these things. So, like, what are the things that you love about Forest Lake that kind of helps craft that picture in your head that makes you stay here after so many years?
I'm going to start with, it's going to sound corny, but the American Legion. We have the best American Legion in the nation.
You heard it here,
folks. The staff they have there and just the events and the support that they do for the community. The 4th of July that they, the parade runs right in front of their thing, and oh my gosh, so just the 4th of July in general, but it all starts with the American Legion.
They're really active in the community.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's benefits there almost every week. I mean, shoot, I was at Edina Realty, had a turkey bingo there last weekend, and we're there. We sponsored the event with them, and it's just fun to see a 7-year-old kid with a turkey. It's you can't beat it. But
what's he gonna do with the turkey?
Well, yeah,
he's gonna eat it.
It's a free event, and there's another one for the Forest Lake Hockey right there. I think they're this weekend, and they always have that second space open. Friday nights they have a poker game in the back thing there, and there's just so many things that.
Well, it's sounds like it's that place that community really comes together.
Yeah.
Right? That's so important.
It's like that Toby Keith song, "I Love This Bar," too. It's like all walks of life are in there too. You'll have the nickel millionaire that lives on the lake, and then the guy that just lost his job, who's on, who's blowing his welfare check on, So
4th of July.
4th of July is probably the biggest one in town. Like 4th of July is.
Tell me what to expect for this. I have zero expectations of this.
Well, usually uptown there's a band, there's a carnival, at the Legion, of course, but there's a band at Lone Oak. Just in general, the town comes alive on that weekend. And on the lake, there's a big boat parade. There's just Old Oaks Lakeside Park. On Tuesdays, we do, what's it called? Something in the park. Music in the park or something like that. Arts in the park. Every Tuesday during the summer. Those are 2 events. We finally got a decent football club for years and years and years. Since we were in high school, we stunk. And we're making the playoffs now, which is really exciting, As far as events, those are probably the 2. I mean, this great trunk or treat we were just at last weekend for Halloween. That was great. That's going to grow.
That's a new thing.
Yeah. And then just some of the stuff that the chamber puts on too. I mean, we have a very active chamber of commerce here in Forest Lake.
I had no chamber experience until I joined this one out here, and I don't know if the rest of the chambers are like that.
What's funny is you're looking around like Chisago area. There's no structured chamber of commerce that I can see anyway on a web presence. I might be wrong, but it's local areas and not really taking advantage of that, but maybe they don't have the resources, or it all starts with volunteers,
Well, it starts with somebody doing something. I don't know who that was in Forest Lake, but I know the Nat and her team, they crush it over there.
Yeah, they do
so active.
Ton of things with local businesses and things in the community, but other events, you kind of caught me off guard there with events, but those are 2 in the summer anyway. But the 4th of July is probably the biggest event of the year for us.
So what do you do as a business for the 4th of July?
Honestly, nothing. I drink a lot of Coors Light.
You're just part of the community, right?
Yeah.
So have you noticed now, being a business owner, do people bring business up when you're just doing that stuff, not intentionally?
Yes and no. I mean, you get relationships that you didn't have before, say trade partners and drywallers and things like that will, you're at the pizza pub and they'll buy you a beer and vice versa, stuff like that. But no, not really. I mean, people will make side jokes about oh, did you guys paint that? Or, something like that. But, nothing that really, people don't walk up to me. It's not like I'm a celebrity in town or anything like that. No.
Well, you are. Well, we're kind of getting to the end here. Just want to give you an opportunity to kind of tell everybody anything else you want them to know about your business, how to get in touch with you, and I wanted this to be really valuable for you. So if there's any message you want to deliver to anyone listening.
Well, I'll start by saying the painting business in itself I've noticed is a little different than a lot of the other painting or other businesses that might be out there. I just know that forging relationships with other painters in the community, that it's not necessarily competition, it's more like co-opetition. You'll see each other at the paint store or whatever, and you're more like, what are you working on? Where are you guys at? You guys got that school in line? Oh, good for you. You know, it sounds like a great project because I know that you'll be busy for a week and a half now. And you know what I mean? And so, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun to see other people in our trade have just as much success and get a reputation, if you will, a good reputation within that sphere in such a short time. So I'm very proud of what we've built there, which is exciting. And you have the respect of other people in town now, you know. So when you said like you're out and people are like, hey, Mark, how are you? You know, there's an instance where I was at the paint store and someone, hey, Mark, how are you? I'm like, I'm great, man. How are you? Like, I didn't know who that person was, but maybe I should, you know. So there's that. But if you wanted to get a hold of us, our cards are at Sherwin-Williams here in town. But it's WOW1DAY Painting, WOW1DAY.com. And we have an 800 number. It's 877. Oh my gosh, I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. But
we'll put it in the description.
Yeah, if you just Google WOW1DAY, we come up. You know, and I urge everyone to look at our Google reviews. I think we just we're about 109, 110 right now, all 5-star reviews, and they're earnest, not manufactured reviews. You know, I think we've worked really hard to get a good standing in the community and you know, customer relationship wise. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell that there's an incredible amount of passion behind it, and I'm not surprised by the success after the conversation we've had. One more question, more of a selfish question for myself. Like, what books or resources do you kind of look at or go to continue to learn and grow, even though you're kind of into business?
It's funny, we listen to Spotify, and I just discovered that they have a lot of free audiobooks. So the one book that has had a really big impact on me, and I just rediscovered this either yesterday or the day before, is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's on it's super dated. It's like written in the 30s or 40s or whatever.
Dale Carnegie is the man.
Yeah, but it's all the same principles that follow today, and it's not necessarily about how to sell. It's just about being a good person and how to make people want to be around you more. And it's not fake. It's just like, if you want people to like you, you got to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm rediscovering that, and it's really an interesting listen. I was just listening before I came in. So,
Dale Carnegie and Napoleon Hill, like I went into like a rabbit hole for a couple months, like a year or so ago, and there's so much wisdom there, but because it's aged, sometimes I think it's not touched by some of the newer generations. So I appreciate you mentioning that. What about any podcasts or anything like that you listen to?
Well, you know, the ones I mentioned before, honestly, I couldn't tell you what the names of them are now, just because it's been 4 years. But, you know, you can just look up any of those on iTunes or Spotify or anything like that, and they come up. You know, hopefully this one's going to do really well for you and take off. I'm excited to see what happens. You know, I'm excited to be a part of it.
I'm just grateful for the opportunity to learn more about you and kind of your story, and I'm just really grateful for your time, Marc. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. It's great to meet you. Great to be out.
We'll be in touch more. And
I think we're both just getting started too, so it'll be fun to see where this goes from here.
Just getting going. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thanks again, Marc. I am so grateful for your time. Reach out to me. Anything comes up, I'd love to help you any way that we can.
Cool. Great. All right.